Song of Spring is a 1923 Brazilian film. A lot of location shots in this film. The film was shot in Belo Horizonte. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, which is a city located in Minas uh, Gerais. Again, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And actually, the film takes place in Minas Gerais in the 19th century. Uh, which, okay, the story um kind of fell flat for me. I was reading reviews for this, and the story is the kind of story where it's a rich family being betrothed sort of thing. So you have Luiz Roldão, who is trying to force a marriage with his son Jorge, on the Bento's family's daughter Rosita. And so throughout the story, that's what you're seeing, but there's a lot of fluff in it. I mean, there were a lot of things that just didn't need to be there. And I was starting to get confused. I was actually starting to get bored and everything, but there were things that were starting to pull me back in and everything. But again, the location shots I enjoyed. You saw quite a bit of like the because he is a farmer, he is a rich farmer, so you saw a lot of that and everything. But there were just a lot of things that it was like, why is this here? If you remember when I critiqued that German film, The Haunted House, and I talked about how the scene in the kitchen, it just didn't need to be there. Well, there was a lot of that in this film. And there were a lot of reviews, like I said, that were saying the same thing. It could have been cut down because this is an almost 2-hour movie, and it could have been um, made a lot shorter. Uh, because I mean, this is a an age-old story. We know the story about two families coming together through marriage and to unite their families for whatever reason. And um and there's always that conflict. It doesn't matter what conflict. Somebody's uh you know, and there is a conflict in this one. But I was losing the story. It's just I watched this movie twice and I was losing interest every time. But I do have to say that the visuals are amazing. Seeing the landscape of Brazil is it was stunning. I can't say anything negative about that, but the story itself lost me. I agree with everybody who reviewed it saying it was just too long. I mean, they really needed to cut it down. Another example is the first Ten Commandments when Cecil B. DeMille did the Ten Commandments the first time, and all of a sudden he put on that modern twist to it. And the reviewers from back then said the same thing. Why did you add that? It was perfect without it. That's why he redid it. Um, but like I said, I watched it twice and I got lost every time. There were a lot of people who said the same thing. It needed to be cut down. One person said something like it's like going through a box of photographs and there's too many. Um, but you know, That's really the only negative I have. There was just a lot of things that kind of lost the story. I'm sure that if they had removed all of that other stuff, it cut it down to like an hour and a half or something. Um, or even just an hour, and just given us the actual story. Because there have been other movies that have shown us like the landscape and everything. Do a few shots of the landscape and then come back to the story. And it did just fine. And like what was it? That Santa Claus story that showed us visuals of Alaska. So it is possible. Um so yeah, it made me sad because but just because I didn't like it, doesn't mean you won't. Maybe maybe I missed something, and which wouldn't be the first time. But I tried twice and I got lost. There were a lot of other reviewers who said the same thing, and the seeing the visuals of Brazil, uh, I loved that. And but anyway, this was shot on location. Obviously. And it's your typical trying to unite two rich families, and a conflict happens. It's Song of Spring, released in 1923. It's a Brazilian film.